Eric's asked me to come along tonight, as has been mentioned, to just show off the little project I had going in the shed there for a while, and it all came about originally because someone I knew bought himself a electric bike, and I've got dodgy knees, and I thought, well, that's the sort of thing I need, and but I didn't like the styling, so I thought I need something a bit more out there rather than just a mountain bike or hybrid sort of bike styling. And I don't know whether any of you are aware of the old Boardtrack Racers that were very popular during the up until the Depression in the United States, and basically fellas got old Indians and Harleys and whatever and stripped them down and built these massive wooden board tracks, and some of them were like mile ovals and circles, and they felled entire forests, I think, to construct these things, but they'd race around them at 120 miles an hour on these stripped down bikes. And I just like the style of the old, particularly the pre-First World War bikes, and I thought, well, I might build something like that and make it electric. So the idea came to me to make it really look like an old bike, or at least, you know, get some strong styling cues from them, and construct the motor as I have there, as you can see. So got a bit of a presentation. Do I click this, do I, Eric? Yep. I'll just say, you know, Tasmandale is the name of our house, so everything I make now I just plaster Tasmandale all over it, so there's no real meaning behind that. Okay, so just this is a very brief presentation. I'm open to questions afterwards and that. I worked for Mitsubishi Motors for quite a number of years, and ended up there as a design engineer, and mainly working on CAD. So everything I do, doesn't matter what it is, I design it on CAD first. So it's using a program called CATIA. It's fully parametric 3D modelling. So if you want to make any changes, it's just a matter of typing in some numbers, and you can do everything really quite easily with it, as long as you know what you're doing. So that's how it all started. Basically just making a 3D model of it. That's just a t-shirt design. So that's just a few specs. Now, bearing in mind, I have no idea about electric vehicles really. You know, you guys probably know heaps more than I do, but I know the basics, and basically I went online and bought a whole heap of stuff as described there and worked out a way of putting it all together. That's just tells you the range that I know it has got. I've actually travelled more than 40 k's on it with a bit of pedal assistance up hills. It does just over 30 k's an hour on the flat. I used to say on paper, but I don't ride on paper that very often. But anyway, yeah, it hooks along all right. It keeps up with other cyclists and passes most of them actually. But it's good fun to ride. My wife, when she was on Facebook, I said to her, I've got to get an old bicycle from somewhere to build this thing, you know. So she said, oh, I'll put the word out on Facebook, and I think by the end of that afternoon we'd picked up 18 bikes all around the place. And we've actually got some friends, Sue and Don Elliott, who donated 7 of their kids' old bikes and their old bikes and that, so we call them Super Elliots now. So basically the only thing I salvaged from the frame was the rear stays and the bottom bracket and the head tube. So knocked up a bit of a design for a jig. It's all wood, this one, basically a bit rough, but worked okay. Just to weld it, tack it all together, and then finally finished welding it up. And the only thing I had to get done was the tube, the main tube there, got that bent by a fella around in Melrose Park or Edwardstown somewhere, exhaust guy. Crankcase, that's fabricated out of laser cut aluminium, so once again with the CAD I could send off the file to the laser cutters and they cut the parts out for me. I brought them home and basically welded them together. Currently, well, I've designed up a split crankcase design which I'm going to try sand casting in the near future, so we'll see how that goes. The engine, yeah, as I said, it's designed to simulate a vintage V-twin. The cylinders are basically laser cut pieces and 3D prints. The heads and the bottom part of them, they're done on a 3D printer. Yeah, there's not really much more to say there. As I say, you know, any questions afterwards you can ask me. But
what sort of welder did you use?
TIG welder, yeah. Yep. Not the world's best welder, but it's amazing what the grinder can do. It can clean up anything. It's just a basically a picture of the wiring layout. Not that it sort of really makes much sense, but that sort of idea came from working in the auto industry. When we were making prototype looms for cars, we used to peg them out on big boards with nails, basically. So then it came time to assembly. I sent all the parts off to be powder coated at the powder coaters. The tank, or simulated tank, is in two halves, so I can take, if you want to have a look afterwards, this side here is removable so you can get to all the guts of it. It's got the charger and the BMS, a couple of relays, and the controller all stashed inside there quite neatly. Oh, there's a picture there of it anyway. It was quite an exciting day to get all of that together, laid out on the floor like that. You know, had all the parts, and that's the best part, is putting it all together. And that was the finished product. The blue cylinders are the batteries. They're these Headway lithium iron phosphates. They're a 15 amp hour, 3 volt cell, 36 volts in total, 12 cells. This is just a bit of advertising. So basically, that's what I do. I'm sort of semi-retired at the moment, so anything anyone needs, you know, you can contact Eric and he can pass you on. Any general welding, any design stuff that you want done or anything like that, we can talk about that. And just a few pictures, which you can. Some of these are actually CAD renderings, so that's actually not a real bike. That's a CAD model. And
so you use the traditional motorbike front fork in the CAD modelling. But
yeah.
Finally, was that for any particular reason? Or? Yeah,
impatience. I just wanted to get the thing on the road.
It's a very good reason.
No, I've actually designed a cantilever style suspension fork for the next bike, so just got to send the stuff off to the laser cutters to get that all cut out now, and then I can start assembling that. A few other CAD models. That's model, and there's a picture of me my wife took. And there's actually a file on there, Eric. I don't know whether you wanted to play that or not. There's just a little animation of an early design. Originally I was going to make a 24 volt bike, but then I decided to wanted a little bit more out of it. So if you play, you go back up.
Is it really 250 watts, or is that what you tell them?
Well, actually that one there is a 350 watt motor. But yeah, legally you're only supposed to have a 250 watt motor. So yeah, that one there. So this was just a. This is just a bit more advertising, basically, for the sort of thing that I can do for CAD modelling and that. So, well, I hope you like the music too. So it just gives you an idea of how it's constructed. Didn't end up too much different from that, except that this has got 6 cells per cylinder, whereas that's only 4. So there you go. Any questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, Hans.
I thought the bike's not supposed to be going more than 50 watt. Is that a new rule that came out?
250 watts now. Yeah, I think it was 200 watts. I think South Australia was different to every other state, and they brought it up to 250 to bring it in line with all the other states. Yeah.
So I think it also says nominal, so peak power may exceed 250 in some parts of the site.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you've got a 24 volt motor and 36 volts of batteries, I suppose, you know. You know, I don't quite know how they police it, but yeah.
The other thing is the electric assist is meant to cut out at 40 kilometres an hour.
Yeah. Oh, this. I think the only way you get it over 40 k's, well, the only way I'd get it over 40 k's an hour is downhill. But yeah. Any other? Yeah.
How much do you end up spending on the whole kit?
I have no idea, and I don't want to know. No, I think it'd be more than 1,000, less than 2,000. So most expensive part was the batteries. They were about, by the time I got them shipped over from Western Australia, they were about 400 and something. So they sort of took up the lion's share. And then if you count the 700 bucks I spent on a 3D printer, and but apart from that, I think probably the next most expensive part was probably the motor. I guess it was about 60 bucks or something. Yeah, so it's all bits and pieces, just sort of cobbled together, really. Yep. How much does it weigh? A lot. I haven't actually weighed it, to be honest, but it's quite heavy. I use the front brake most of the time. It's got a V brake on the back, this one, which is useless, and I think you'd be hard pressed to get yourself over the handlebars with it. You know, it sort of hugs the road pretty well.
What controller does it use?
Oh, just some Chinese thing. There's hundreds of them out there, and I think I chose the cheapest one. Can't remember actually.
Wheels extended off the wheels?
Yeah, the wheels are off just one of those old mountain bikes. So yeah, the only thing I had to do was put a disc brake hub on the front one, but the back one's just stock. I did have to make an adapter for the rear to put the 2 free wheels on the rear, so they're basically 2 BMX style free wheels, one for the motor and one for the pedal drive. But the next version's got the free wheels on the actual crank shaft, so means I'll only have one chain going to the rear, and then I've got a 3-speed, you know, the old Sturmey Archer style 3-speed hubs with a roller brake integrated into it for the rear of the next one. Yeah, there's a few changes, but yeah, mainly in the drive area to make it a little bit more serviceable.
Can you recharge when you're going down slow?
No, I looked into it about regeneration, but the general consensus seems to be that it's not really worth it on a push bike. Why that is, I'm not really quite sure, but I assume it's because there's not a lot of resistance. So on a steep hill, you'd probably have to use your brakes anyway, I guess. But not really sure. I was saying to someone before the meeting, as a kid sitting up in the hills there, I used to watch the old diesel locos coming down through the hills and at night, and they have these massive banks of big resistors on the roof, and they'd be glowing red hot, you know, just soaking up and wasting all this energy. So just great big massive bar heaters on the roof and that, you know, just to try and slow them down. But yeah, I really didn't look into it with this bike, to be honest. But there are, in particular, there's one style hub motor now, which has a built-in controller and regeneration circuits.
You could put it
and
on
so
a
forth.
stand in your garage as a home trainer and then charge battery.
Yeah, you could, or you could just plug it in.
Yeah, you exercise, you charge the battery.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Will the next one be the same retro style, or have you got another bike in mind?
I've been looking at other ones of that sort of period. There's one that I like, the Flying Merkel. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that. Yeah, that was another style I really like. And there's some Excelsiors and.
On the American pickers, those guys are really keen about the old bikes and the old motorbikes. And
Yeah.
some of those shapes are incredible.
Yeah, they are. They're pretty amazing. But I don't want to extend my fabrication skills too much either. I like the square lines. That's easy. Yep.
Have you thought of applying to the government for a grant or assistance of some sort to develop this into a cottage industry? It's not taking anything away from what you're doing.
Yeah, no.
As a start, you know.
No, I wouldn't have. I honestly wouldn't have a clue what's available or anything like that. You know, it's just sort of this was really just a.
You'd want to go though?
Possibly, yeah. I think it's something that I'd. It's something I could do from home.
Just from a marketing perspective, just sitting here looking at this, you know, that's a $5 bike.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's unique, number one, and it's unique, number two. I mean, unique in style and unique in how it does what it does.
Yeah.
If you ask $5 grand, someone would go, yeah, I'll pay that.
Yeah, there are people out there that will pay it, but like I say, this is the first proto. I'm in the middle of a bathroom reno at the moment, so everything else has come to a full stop at the moment. But hopefully, in a few weeks, I'll be able to.
Obviously, with all the CAD work that you've done, there's a few parts there that you've fabricated yourself. By and large, though, what about a kit proposition? You know,
Yeah.
the kit concept, perhaps.
Yeah, that's a possibility. One thing I have.
Money for the state, that's all.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise we're not eating out here. People like you with stuff like that, that's what they keep banging on about. The big stuff's gone. It's this stuff. This is the thin edge of the wedge.
Yeah.
From my personal opinion, it's just, I'm not being anything special, but as a personal opinion, you know, I'm trying to get someone else here to do something like that. But that sort of thing is an eye opener. You put that on Facebook, and that'll go viral, and you'll have people saying, "How much?"
Yeah. Well, I've basically have designed a third version which will be easy to produce, and it takes a lot of the maintenance out of it and so forth, using a hub motor, and which I do like the mid-drive, but it's a bit of a pain. It's expensive. It's a pain for maintenance and so forth for someone who just wants to buy a bike and ride it. You know.
It's interesting that currently the trend seems to be towards mid motors, not hub motors. I'm talking to a guy over in Nicholson Street in North Carlton, and he was pointing out that you know the hub motors are almost gone from the range he's offering, and they're all got a motor sitting forward, built in with a crank, and it's got a sort of a elliptical, sort of oval, pear-shaped.
Yeah.
Where the treadle used to go, and the whole thing slots in there, and that's the way it's going. So you're right up at the leaders there. It's just that you're not using that particular formation. But
There's a few. There's one I have seen. Well, there's fellas that have got insane electric bikes. You know, you've probably seen them anyway. But you know, where they use these little electric motors from model airplanes, large-scale model airplanes, and they put 2 or 3 of them on there, and they're getting, you know, well over 100 k's an hour out of them. You know, it's just insane. Yeah, yeah, but I just like the cruiser style, you know, it's just cruisy.
Tell me, what reaction do you get from the police force?
Smiles. Yeah, yeah, I haven't had any difficulties at all with them, you know, I mean, I probably would have if I was 30 years younger, but, you know, they just they seem to leave you alone after you reach a certain age, don't they? Yeah.
How many man-hours did it take you to instruct it?
I don't know. I really don't. I've got no idea. I just, I don't ask my wife.
How many weeks from when you started the idea to when you rode it?
Oh, it would have been probably 3 or 4 months, I suppose, maybe.
Well, a lot of that would have been sourcing things and working out how to do it. So.
Yeah, most of it was waiting for stuff to come, actually. Yeah. But, yeah, it probably would have been 3 months. Would have been, yeah. I don't know. My wife at that there, Leroy, she made all the cups of tea for me, so she's probably got a better idea than I have. Yeah. Anyone else? Huh?
Stick with the crank drive.
Yeah. The mid drive. Yeah.
Because you can put a say 6-speed geared hub back.
Well, the way I was going to go is put a hub motor on the front, and then I can still put a geared hub on the rear. So, yeah. It's just from a like small scale production point of view, it's just a lot easier than doing all that fabrication work and that. You know, I think you could probably get the same amount for the bike, but with a lot less input. You know. But yeah. Anyway, have I finished now?
Yeah, just talk to Eric about putting a sound device on that.
Yeah, I need a Harley or yeah.
I don't think Harley would sound right. Like it need to be something that chuffed a bit.
Yeah, maybe an old pre-war Indian, something. Yeah. But anyway, there it is. Feel free to. What was that? Sorry.
You could do that in a box of BMW style.
Oh, you could if you had the impetus to do it. Yeah, but I like keeping things simple. You know, from a point of view. I mean, if I was going to mass produce those or produce them on some sort of scale, I think the only options I'd probably give people is colour and, you know, maybe handlebars and seat or something, you know.
Forest green or something.
Yeah.
Look good in green.
You could do an old army version, olive drab or something, I suppose, or something, you know, just something like that. Sidecar, that was another thought I had.
If you do the olive drab, get it out before the end of this year because it's... You know.
Yeah. One thought I did have was building a sidecar for it and filling it with batteries, so get a bit of range. But anyway, it's there for everyone to have a look at. Feel free, and yeah, thanks very much for having me this evening.
Thank you very much, David. I think you should all feel privileged that you have just seen the latest model Holden.
Probably the last.